Want to fight about it?
All right, what is up, fam? We are live here on the Fantasy Sports Network. This is the Want to Fight About It podcast. I'm your host, as always, Stephen Rochelle. Got a fun one lined up for you guys this evening. Going to be talking to a female mixed martial artist. Her name might ring a bell in some circles. Looking to see how she's going to make a name for herself in this sport. And we also have a BKFC fighter joining us in the second portion of the program. He is going to be competing against a former title challenger in the weight class above, in Mike the Marine Richmond. Dave Mundell should be a fun one. But with that being said, let's get to our first guest.
Running out of the red corner.
This is a sport with all different types of people, all different types of characters. And then she pushed me towards the cage. At my gym, they call it the guillotine.
All right, what is up, fam? We are now officially joined by our first guest, Miss Mila Hill. Mila, first off, appreciate your time this evening, and I guess give the fans a little background. How did the former All-Star basketball player's daughter get into mixed martial arts? Because a lot of times you see the bloodlines kind of stick to basketball, track. It's not often you see bloodlines from those sports kind of go to combat sports. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's one of these things I knew this was going to happen 5-6 years ago as female mixed martial arts was really laying the footwork. But kind of give us your little intro, your little story.
Well, I'm super excited to be on your show today. Looking forward to it. But yeah, I think that's a question that a lot of people ask. Like, how did I, daughter of somebody who played a completely different sport, get into this one? And the truth is, I'm too short to play basketball. No, I'm just joking. But no, I am very short. I just kind of think that this is something that I was always meant to do. I grew up watching that TV show, Bully Beatdown.
Oh my God, we all love that.
I know. I looking back, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have watched it. I was probably like 6 when it was out. I think that was like 2007.
I mean, it wasn't too crazy. I mean, Mayhem was a little nuts, but the female, Michelle Waterson. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a perfect kind of style for you to kind of look at it as you're kind of first being introduced to what MMA is, what combat sports is.
Exactly.
My favorites, doesn't not someone that you're going to see with titles, but she has great personality. Love to see Miss Waterson fight. So
Yeah.
obviously she's your first foray, but like who were I like to ask this one, right? Who's your Mount Rushmore? Who for combat sports? Who's your combat?
Oh my goodness.
Because obviously, it's going to lead into another question with something that happened this past weekend.
Yes. So first I have to put Royce Gracie on there. Royce Gracie is definitely
Trailblazer.
Yeah, exactly. My coach is my head coach, John Burke, is his first black belt. So get to train with Royce a lot. super blessed, but I have to put him there first. Second, I'm gonna go Nick Diaz. I'm a huge Nick Diaz fan, huge Scrap Pack fan. All of those guys.
You're an OG right there. I can tell you're an OG because a lot of the newer fans will say Nate, not
No,
Nick.
Nate would, if I had, I would put Nate on there too. That's the thing. I love them both. I love all the Scrap Pack. Jake Shields, Gilbert Melendez, all of those guys are super awesome to me.
Yeah, even Kerry, you know what I mean? You got to put Kerry in there. You know what I mean? We're talking Scrap Pack.
Exactly. I'm going to do Ronda Rousey, obviously the trailblazer for women's mixed martial arts.
I don't think women's mixed martial arts is where it is if you didn't have your poster girl. She was literally the best one-trick pony that ever came across combat sports. It's a fun one. You know, you either love her, you hate her. I love what she did and who she brought in and the eyes she brought to the sport. The only thing I could say I hate is just how she left it. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. And I think a lot of fans will go, she wasn't really a champion. No, she was a champion. She just, sometimes when it comes to you have great judo, you're able to kind of close distance. You're able to find things. I think she fell in love with her hands too much, and it cost her in the end. I don't think she was honestly without a doubt. I don't think she would have ever beat Amanda.
Amanda's up there. Amanda's up there too. It's a hard list.
Yeah,
only putting 4 up there.
There's so many ways you can look at it too.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, but then like 5 isn't even enough.
Exactly.
I mean, we're talking about it, but now that we're talking about Miss Amanda, what are your thoughts on the retirement this past weekend? She was able to kind of go out there. I mean, it's the fight that she really wanted at the end of the day. She was a multiple division champion. I think the only sad part I would say about her retirement is that the featherweight division is officially dead in the UFC, and ultimately the UFC failed and anyone they brought in that wasn't Chris Cyborg or Amanda Nunes as a featherweight. That's UFC just has to take that one on the chin and move on. I think they do have opportunities out there to kind of reinvigorate it, but I don't think they're really interested in it. But that's their fault. But what are your thoughts on that, though?
I think it's awesome that she retired on top. I definitely didn't expect it. I thought she would get another fight in with Pena. I know Pena was calling for it and barking at it. And,
oh my God! That's literally where I was going to go with it next, because Juliana had I know when we talk about combat sports, there's a certain level of bravado, confidence, things like that. But when you're sitting there saying that she scared her so bad in the retirement, it's things like that is why I think a lot of people kind of get turned off by Juliana at times. Don't argue with her for saying something like that, because you want to poke the bear enough to sit there and say, you know what, let's do that. But it is what it is. What do you think Juliana might have taken it too far, or is it just kind of a little showwomanship, so to speak?
I think it's good for women's mixed martial arts. I think sometimes we forget that it's the entertainment business too. So getting that, saying that stuff, not that it was the most, respectful maybe way to say it or boast about it, but you got to be, put yourself out there and pump yourself up. And if that's the way that she saw fit to do that, they're both excellent fighters. And I know I would have tuned in to their trilogy. So
I mean, it's something you get robbed of, but Juliana kind of robbed it of herself with which she is known for reckless training. She's known for getting nicked up in between training camps from time to time and fight. You cost yourself that at that point in time. After you lost that belt, I would have been like, wrap me in bubble wrap and make sure I get to this next fight, because I want to prove that Amanda is losing a step. Anyone who sat there and said they weren't surprised that Juliana stopped Amanda that first time, you're kidding yourself. But to sit there and look at that second fight and sit there and say that she scared her out
man.
of the sport is it's a laughable comment. But then you go to the next part of it is now Juliana has a problem. She has no wins over any
Oh
active
man.
fighter in her weight class. She has no wins over active fighters in her weight class anymore. So she is the pseudo face of the division, and now
Yeah.
she is kind of put in that Misha Tate Ronda Rousey situation. She has to go find herself a villain, even though she or a good girl, so to speak. She has to find she has to find a partner, and she has to find someone to antagonize with. Maybe we'll see what the UFC comes up with. Are you excited to see what the bantamweight division is going to look like moving forward in the UFC?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's cool. Amanda was so dominant for so long, and kind of same thing with Shevchenko, right? She was so dominant in that division, and then she lost, and Amanda retired. So now it's a little bit more excitement in that bantamweight division. So I love to see like the new young guns fighting for the top, getting that title shot, those opportunities that they wouldn't necessarily get with Amanda there. But obviously, we're going to miss Amanda.
Well, without a doubt,
there.
I can't. It's a hard time not to like Amanda. She was basically the discarded tool for so long, and then she just put enough wins together to make the fight. That Ronda was flying through opponents like a hot knife through butter, and until Holly Holm figured out the puzzle. Holly just has had great footwork, and it's just one of those things that what the type of judo that Ronda used. It was just a way that happened, but it's one of these things where your coulda, shoulda, wouldas. But Amanda was the discarded tool for the longest time. Now, as one of the commenters says that now Juliana's the one with the target on her back, so to speak. Do you think? You think that she's able to take the torch the next few years, or maybe some of these young contenders could possibly knock her off within a year or two?
And everybody's so talented. She's so talented. It's like, I don't know. If Juliana comes out and fights the fight that she fought against Amanda, then her first fight, that'll be a tough night for anybody. But this is MMA; anything can happen. So the young guns coming up are stellar too.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love it. I mean, you seen the kind of the first wave was Ronda and the girls and the guys that came over from Strikeforce. Then you looking into the second wave was when they did the first season of the Ultimate Fighter, when they basically took over Invicta's flyweight and strawweight divisions and just absorbed them. And they had so many talented fighters, fun fighters to watch that came out of that, and that was a really big one. And now we're seeing this next wave with Alexa Grasso, dethroning Valentina Shevchenko and things of that nature. So it's fun to see some of the newer class. Now you're a part of, I guess, that the next class that's behind that. What are your some of your way far down the way goals that you obviously want to set for yourselves?
One thing that I love to make clear when I talk to people about my MMA is I'm doing this for legacy, right? There's not a lot of money to be made in MMA anyway. But to me, it's all about legacy. So building that legacy, extending that legacy that I have, my last name. Obviously, my father played professional basketball. My grandfather played professional football. So representing that last name accordingly. And to me, that's getting to the top of that MMA mountain, conquering that mountain, if you will.
Now, the combat sports world has completely changed over the last few years. I don't believe the UFC is the only show in town. I like what I'm seeing with Nate Diaz sticking it to the upper brass for trying to put him out the way they try to put him out. Francis Ngannou, talking some real things that needed to be talked about, and people were saying he was asking for unreasonable things. No, he was asking for things that should have already been given to people in the first place. And it's one of these things that everyone knows boxing is a dirty sport. Everyone knows there's dark sides to everything, dark sides to pro wrestling. There's a dark side to MMA too. We all need to be open and admit to it. We also need to make sure athletes are aware. Like make sure you work with you have the right management. You're working with the right team. But you're being from the background. You have these are things I don't have to tell you. These are just the things that we say out of redundancy, because it is real things, and there are some people who aren't educated to some things. But it's one of these things where you see what PFL's done, you see what France has done. Obviously, they made a lot of changes over the year. Obviously starting off as World Series of Fighting, now they're PFL MMA. You have arguably at the moment the most notoriable women's fighter on the planet in Kayla Harrison. There's rumors of a potential PFL and Bellator being bought out. With that being said, if that happens, then you're really looking at I think probably the strongest number two that the UFC has ever seen. Zuffa or not. My thing is the other side of it is bare knuckle boxing and regular boxing. Is that something you would also entertain, like while looking for fights, while looking for the right things? Proper matchups, not just doing it for the sake of doing it. Like you said, you're doing this for the legacy of it. You're doing it to be considered one of the best of at your weight class.
Yeah, I never want to say no to anything. Obviously, I want to do MMA and excel at that, but I don't want to close the door on anything else. Maybe one day down the line, boxing, bare knuckle boxing, professional wrestling. I've got people ask me that question. So, I want to keep all those doors open. And if I decide to walk through, then that's cool. But for now, definitely my main focus is MMA.
That's what I want to hear. I love it. MMA is the ultimate. We're sitting there talking about like people are surprised that you've done this, but it's one of these things like where we sit there and say, like, you go look at somebody like LeBron James. He's absolutely one of these guys who, if he would have went to combat sports instead of the NBA, he probably would have been a crazy athlete. He probably would have been one of the best light heavyweight fighters that could have been. But obviously he was really great at playing basketball, so no one's gonna fault him for that.
Exactly.
It's one of these things where we're seeing the kind of the evolution where just because you're good at this doesn't mean that that's where you're going to kind of be eventually. Obviously, it takes a special type of person to be a combat sport athlete, a fighter, a bare knuckle, etc. But what's the thing you think that ultimately is going to drive you to greatness? That's going to make you special. You that it factor that will make that next star.
I think the reason why I'm doing this, like I said before, for me, it's not like a money thing. It's not really a fame thing. It's more of upholding that family legacy. And I think when you have that as your driving factor, when you're fighting for beyond yourself, but your family, it makes it so much more, gives you that much more ability to drive and push through. So I think for me, it's like, it was written in the stars for me. I mean, everything has aligned for me to do this. I'm not like super superstitious by any means, but in this one area, it's kind of all aligned and the stars aligned. And I think the reason why I'm doing it is what separates me from everybody else.
And that's kind of like the similar question we just had in here. Does the desire to uphill the legacy increase the pressure or increase the motivation?
I mean, look, I'm a 3-0 amateur, and I got posted. Ariel Hawani posted my fights. So
yeah, Ariel giving you some love. I mean, that was definitely
yeah.
Okay, like okay.
So I totally understand, and I realize that the reason why this is happening is obviously because of who my family is, and this and that. And I'm not going to sit here and complain about that. I'm going to leverage, this. There's increased pressure, but with that pressure, it also comes with some stuff that other 3-0 amateurs may not get. So for me to be upset or do anything about that, that would be wrong. And it definitely drives the motivation a little bit more too, because there is a target on my back. People do want to beat me up, and I invite that.
She's doing The Rock. Bring it. Bring it. But when you made this decision to do combat sports, to do it, what did Dad say? What was his initial reaction? And how supportive has he been since you started?
Oh man, so a little context. I'm a private school kid. I was a straight A honor roll student. Never got a detention. So I have a very, different kind of coming into combat sports from the stories you would hear from other people. And, combat sports is full of different people. So not everybody has that rough upbringing. But I think that's the thing that's portrayed the most. And I remember sitting on the kitchen table and telling my dad, telling my mom and my dad, I think I'm going to do this fighting stuff. And I've never been in a fight outside of, a sanctioned bout in a cage. So they were completely blown away by what I just said. And I remember my 18th birthday. This was January 2020. So right before COVID, I had been training jiu-jitsu for a little over 7 months, right during that time, about maybe 9 months. And we went to UFC in Raleigh to see Curtis Blades versus Rafael dos Santos, or Junior dos Santos, excuse me. And I remember my dad telling me, we're going to go, you're going to see these fights, this is going to be great. But he was plotting with my mom the entire time, thinking that seeing the fights live would scare me, would want me to not do it. But it actually made me grow wanting to do it more. So it kind of backfired on him a little bit.
Oh man. Now, obviously, like you were just talking about, you didn't come from that, the rough upbringing that you normally see with a lot of the combat sports athletes, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
I got to ask you, always was a big fan of your dad. I was one of the lone people like in my area who loved Duke. I was like, why don't you like North Carolina? I'm like, why? I'm from PA. Why would I care? I just dug that team, and especially your dad was one of the guys I love. I wish the Sixers would have picked him up. Would have been fun to see. Would have been fun to see him and Iverson at some point in time. That'd have been a fun one. But that being said, now what are some of your memories of your dad and you in basketball? What are some of your first memories of that?
Well, of all of those things together, or me and my dad, me and basketball.
Like obviously, your dad's an NBA player, but like, what are your first memories of just knowing that he's a player, being in that environment, seeing your dad?
Oh man, so
things of that nature.
This is so bad, but I remember growing up, I used to be a huge Tony Parker fan, like a big Tony Parker fan. So I remember vividly, man, when he was playing in Phoenix, I remember we used to go to the games and I would wear this Spurs jersey. So I don't know why that's coming to mind, but I remember, and my dad's like the nicest guy ever. So he would buy me it. He would, have those players sign it. And because I didn't really know, my dad wasn't too bumping up on who he was. He was just, to me, dad. So I remember being a huge Tony Parker fan. I played basketball. I didn't start playing basketball though until maybe late middle school, high school, because I'm short. So I'm little, so it was never in the cards for me. But he never forced me to do that, and I'm super appreciative because I can understand and see.
There's a lot of those dads. I mean,
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
my dad's the
look at the
opposite.
Ball family. The Ball
Oh
family is
no.
a prime example of that now, is it not?
No, my dad's the opposite. I remember
Completely. He's polar the other way.
exactly playing basketball, and obviously the parents are sideline cheering, and my dad's completely quiet. He's like silent, just watching, observing. He's like, your coach knows what he's talking about, and I love him for it. He never forced me to do anything, forced me to and go down any path.
I mean, I had my kids in combat sports for a while, but it's like you want them to have the knowledge to know how to do that and defend themselves. Like, I'm not gonna, like, if you don't want to compete in tournaments or do things like that, I'm not gonna force you to do that. But I definitely want to expose you to those type of environments so you're not you're not gonna turtle up and freak out if you ever get in one of those situations. But you said something like you obviously Tony Parker was what was your guy. Your dad used to introduce you and get autographs and things of that nature. Who was the one that you have an autograph by that your dad got for you that was just like, oh my God, I can't believe my dad did that.
It's interesting because growing up, they were just, my dad's friends, and I think when your dad's doing it, it makes it less cool, but I remember my dad got me a pair of Carmelo Anthony shoes, and I was like, and he got them signed, and I was like, whoa. I think it was when he was kind of, all those highlights of him. Maybe I saw a compilation on YouTube or something, and I was like, I remember that. But they were all my dad's friends and my dad's co-workers, so it wasn't as cool back then when I was a kid. Now looking back on it, I'm like, oh man, that was so cool. But back then it was just like, it is what it is.
In the moment, you were just like, whatever.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Now it's like, wait a minute. Like,
exactly.
we see Melo retire recently.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, he's gonna start going into Hall of Fame this, Naismith that. Like we're gonna start seeing stuff like that happen. But you're just talking about Melos. Did you ever rock a pair of your dad's shoes?
The Filas? I have a pair. They have a bunch of pictures of me as a baby wearing them. And then when they re-released, I have a pair. But, combat sports, we don't really wear shoes, so I don't get a chance to really rock them. And I'm in Florida.
You can still wear them when you walk out. Just got to take. I mean, obviously, it's so tedious to have to take you off your shoes wearing those.
I'm a flip-flops girl. I'm a flip-flops girl. But I love them. I love them. I like the Filas. I think they're fresh, and I think they're coming back for sure.
Filas was always the one. I've always loved Reebok. Wasn't like 100% always on Nike for this, that, and the third, but definitely I was definitely a Fila kid back in the day.
Oh yeah.
But as we're gonna get ready to wrap this one up here, what I typically like to do, Mila, is throw the proverbial microphone over to you. Anyone you would like to thank, shoot at your social media sites, any sponsors you have, teammates, things of that nature. Play a quick 3-second video, and then we'll get you in there. Hold on.
Awesome. So just want to give a quick shout out to my gym in Orlando, Florida, 6 Levels Orlando, under Royce Gracie's first black belt, John Burke, and my striking coach, Ryan Keenan, my fitness coach, VFit Athletics, my wellness center place, New Dimensions Wellness, and my sleep coach, Thomas Hinton. My socials are Mila Hill on Instagram and Twitter, MYLAHILL on both of those. And then my TikTok account, which I just made, is Mila Hill MMA. So yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Milo. Definitely looking forward to the next fight. Definitely keep us in the loop over here. We definitely gotta bring you back on here leading up to the next fight, my friend.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Enjoy your evening, your weekend, and we'll have you back on here again in the
Yes,
future.
sir. Thank you so much.
Fam, that was Miss Mila Hill. As we're gonna get ready to get right into the next one. Hold on for your horses, my
Fighting out of the red corner.
Without any further ado, we're being joined by the redneck himself, Mr. Dave Mundell. Dave, what we doing tonight, my friend? How we feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm almost home. Just got done training and about to go rest and rub down some food, and that's about that.
Just a regular Friday night on the training session.
Fortunately.
That's great, man. Well, first and foremost, really appreciate you hopping on. And I almost forgot. We clip the interview didn't the clip didn't play the whole thing. So
Fighting out of Clearwater, Florida.
All the respect for the guy. I know he deserved the best. Actual champion.
Here is David the Redneck Mundell.
Dope.
There you go, Mr. Mundell.
I like it.
What are some of your favorite fight moments? Obviously, you're one of these guys. MMA guy. A lot of guys that come over from the MMA world has made their way over to BKFC. You're one of these guys. What are some of your favorite fight moments so far?
All my fights are exciting to me. They all the special part. And I was asked this question on another show, and I just kind of recapped when I fought Gustafsson, I think his last name was. It was kind of like my first fight back from a long layoff, and I remember viewing him as just like an easy opponent. But then when I went in there, and he wound up knocking me down in the first round, just like a little, I don't even want to call it a lucky shot. He just caught me stepping in too hard. And after that, I turned it up, and the kid could just take the abuse. It was crazy, and it was just nonstop of just going and going. And that one sticks out pretty good in my mind. So, but outside of that, I know you just said something about a lot of the MMA guys coming over to BKFC.
It's kind of the formula right now.
Yes,
kind of the formula.
It's new, it's exciting, it's different, and it's I don't know, as a combat athlete, we look for stuff like that, and it's just awesome. It's so much fun.
My big thing is like why I say I love it is just because you have to remember where combat sports was as a whole. There wasn't a whole lot of places you guys could go. Like it's either guys who were made for MMA, or athletes who are great at 3 or 4 or 5 combats. There's some guys look at Mike Perry. He was getting ran out of the UFC like a mule by guys who were just putting him on his back and putting it on him. But when he gets in a situation where you can't shoot on him, and you gotta stand in front of him and throw your hands. He looks like a completely different dude. His last 2 fights in the BKFC, correct?
Man, honestly, I think Mike is trash. I don't see it. Like, he comes in there, and I get it. He's got the puncher's chance, and he can take a lot of abuse, but he's amateurish at the best. He's very low level, and I can't wait to get my hands on him. After I starch Richmond in this fight, man, I'm calling him out, and I'm sticking to my guns. I want that fight. I want to prove to everyone that he is not what they think they are. He's a poster boy, and that's it.
I mean, you appreciate the eyes. I love to call that. I love the confidence. Definitely got love for Richmond, but he's one of these guys. I mean, comes from Bellator. If I remember when he was doing the tournaments, was that featherweight, was it not? So in BKFC, it's like middleweight, light heavyweight.
Yeah, I too, when I first came over to BKFC, started fighting at a heavier weight because it's just, like I said, it's something new. It was kind of like fun. I'm just like, why not? We'll just do it. But then as I started going, I'm like taking it more seriously now. Obviously, it's why I was able to obtain the belt, and I plan on just keep on going. And Mike came to the wrong neighborhood. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, rough one out. Last one, he got he got the brunt end of Mr. Hunt's hand, and was stopped for the first time, and I don't even remember. But now he's dropping a couple pounds, coming down, knocking on your door. Why is it a mistake? Why is Mike Richmond not going to be the guy walking out with your belt?
Because I'm just the better fighter. I'm the better boxer. He wants to talk about all this experience and the level of the guys he's fought compared to who I fought. I've never turned down a fight. I fought Hector Lombard when nobody else would do it. And I'm like, well, I'm not scared of this guy. It's like that who someone's fought, that doesn't mean anything. I want to see the outcomes of the fights. And him losing to Lorenzo, he probably lost in one of the best ways he could have, because he was whooping Lorenzo's ass right up until he got caught. So that worked out for him to be able to come down and still be like, hey, he's never lost at 75. We can run this here. And I do respect him. I feel like he's a great fighter. I don't think he's on my level. And I'm getting ready to prove that on the 14th.
I mean, I love the matchup. I always try to stay neutrals in a lot of your guys' fights, because that's what we're supposed to do as media members. Yeah. We see too much Homer going on these podcasts, man.
Yeah, it's okay though. I mean, it's so conflicted. The people who they do the same thing. They look at, okay, well, he's been around longer. He's done this. He's done that. It's irrelevant. One thing that I can't point out,
styles make fights.
Exactly. Like, he hasn't fought anybody like me. I promise you that. I'm one of a kind. I come in there and I can do a little bit of everything, and I do a lot of things very well. He's not going to find me just standing in front of him. He's not going to find me staying in his range and just try and trade blows with him. Like, that's not what I'm about, So he's got his hand full, and I think he knows it, because I've heard of. I don't keep up with this stuff, but I keep getting people telling me things that he's said and things that he's done. I'm like, I don't give a shit, but I definitely can tell I have him a little shook, because he's like looking into my coach's records. It's like, who do you have training you? I'm like, he doesn't need to worry about that. He just lost to somebody who don't even have a coach. So it's like, whatever, bro. But he'll find out.
It's gonna be a fun fight. Now we're talking about the, I guess, the MMA UFC crossover to BKFC. Who do you think who has surprised you the most in their success since coming to BKFC, coming from UFC, MMA, wherever, what have you?
I don't really have anyone that rings a bell, like right off the top. Nobody that's surprising. I guess maybe if you really want to, maybe right back to Mike Perry. Like, I just really don't.
Alexander, he at his age,
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. But he's always been a very aggressive fighter, and BKFC is kind of
His is where
better
probably
in
he should
that
have been 10 years ago.
well, you come in and it's about having, a dog, and you got to go out there and you got to be willing to scrap, and that's when you get hit, you can't shy away. You got to keep coming back, and that's just so I'm not too surprised with him, but his age definitely plays a factor. But that just goes to show you, age is just a number.
And the last thing goes that power. As long as Houston still got that shot, man, that's all that matters, man.
Exactly, and that experience. That's a lot of experience he has.
Yeah, life experience, cage experience, ring experience. Houston Alexander, has that thing checked, dot, circled, and he's very very happy that he's on this win streak. Hopefully, hopefully he's able to at least win a title, man. That'd be the ultimate way to kind of put an end on his combat sports career.
Yeah.
Had two story. There you go. There's one right there for you.
Go ahead and derail Lorenzo. It's possible, man. Anything's possible.
Anything's possible, and especially with no gloves, close quarters, throwing hands.
Absolutely.
Now we're we've been throwing a lot of stuff out there. This is what I like to ask all my guests. Who is your Mount Rushmore of combat sports athletes? We can talk MMA, boxing, BKFC. If you're putting together, everyone likes to say GOAT. I would rather use Mount Rushmore just because it's proper. You get a handful of choices there. Who's your Mount Rushmore of combat sports athletes?
Yeah, it depends on what route we're taking there. Are we talking about like who's the best like overall fighter? Who's the most well known? I mean, I guess they kind of tie into each other a little bit, but
I mean,
you got people
notoriety
like
does play in, like, as much as we don't want it to, as much as we don't, it does.
Yeah, and so you got people like Mayweather and Conor, like those two people right up front. Like, if you don't watch fights, or you don't watch boxing, or you don't watch MMA, or UFC, whatever, like you still know those names. So those guys are obviously huge. And back in the day, Conor was, to me, I thought he was great. I mean, he was, the best. Outside of him, you got like John Jones and DC for like the heavier guys that are just, they're phenomenal as well. But I actually I don't keep up with the stuff as much as people think. Like, I'm in the sport, so I just
it's Mount Rushmore. Like, who's like I guess you're your greatest. You know what I mean? It doesn't. You can mix in current or whatever. But it's who you think should have those notoriety. It doesn't matter if it is because they're popular or not. Who do you feel should be there?
The people who grew the sport and the people who are on top of it right now. So we got people like, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson for boxing. Mayweather is now currently up there. And then I grew up watching people like Tyrone Woodley and Lyoto Machida, and that's why I first started watching before I got into MMA, and then, doing it all. And then now we got Conor, but I don't really have particular favorites.
It's all right, man. Like we all got our taste when it comes to it. Like I'm the one. Like I think it's a good mix of everything. Like I would definitely not part anyone from sitting there adding Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson to any top 5 combat sports list. That era, the Lyoto Machida, Junior Dos Santos, Cain Velasquez era was that. I mean, that was a fun era, man.
Yeah.
Obviously we're getting to the point of moving on to the next generation. As we're seeing, the Aldos of the world walk away. We just seen Amanda Nunes retire last weekend as well from MMA. So it's interesting,
And definitely things change, always evolving.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, if you can think about it, like the way it's going, like I think the way combat sports is, I don't think it's going to be just MMA, just boxing. It's just going to be, as we're talking about it now, as a whole unit.
Yes.
You know,
Combat sports all together.
talking to Coltrane last week. We need to talk to the Olympic Athletic Commission and show them best of the best, and sitting there saying we need to get MMA in the Olympics like this.
That would be awesome.
You think that'll ever happen? That the Olympic Committee would ever allow MMA in, even if it's like an amateur MMA version of it?
Well, it'd have to be. Isn't all of the Olympics all amateur?
Yes, exactly.
So, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. They got boxing in there now, so I don't see why not. You got judo, right? You got wrestling, so why not just tie it all together and see who can do it the best? It makes sense to me, and it's definitely a possibility. But again, that's other stuff that I don't really keep up on too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, none of us do. I don't think it's something our generation might see. Hopefully, it's something we'll be able to see 10, 15 years maybe, but I don't think it's something on their plate, on their agenda, on their radar. But it's something that I think that I think we should see. Now we're some of these older MMA heads. Would you ever like to see a bare knuckle have some promotions get together like the UFC and Pride did for like those New Year's shows and put together tournaments to see who are going to be the best BKFC fighters in the world? Would you like to see something like that happen in 5-10 years or so? Did we lose you there, Dave? Uh-oh. Let's give Mr. Mundell a second. So, guess just give you guys a quick commercial break from one of our sponsors. I want to give Dave a second here to get back on here. If not, the last few topics here, and then I'll put a bow on this one as we are getting towards the end of the program here, and our football guys should be coming back on in a moment or so, in about 11 minutes. Looks like he's trying to hop back on here, but it's just saying device not connected. I think the mic or the video's off, so that's why it's saying not connected. Mr. Mundu, give you another minute or so, bud. Let's see what talk about in the meantime. I don't know if anyone heard what was going on with Conor, since we were talking about Conor McGregor. Obviously having some problems this this past week. With the being at the NBA Finals, unfortunately is involved in some type of sexual allegations, and there was a statement that come out, although the woman was reportedly that alleged the assault doesn't want to press charges with with what's going on and is seeking settlement. I think is a humongous red flag. And Conor's already having a rough week because he wasn't done there. Mid game he had put the the Heat's mascot in the ER with a concussion from a little prop thing that they were doing together. Not sure what's going on with Dave. I think he's having some some technical difficulties there. But I guess we're gonna have to put a wrap on this one. 2 weeks in a row we get this ending on some technical issues, not being able to finish the interview. Was having fun talking to Dave. Really appreciate his time. Really looking forward to the fight with him and Mr. Richmond coming up here in a few weeks' time. Going to be some fireworks. We'll see if he's able to put Mr. Richmond out as Lorenzo Hunt did. We'll see how that plays out. There is a lot of fun matchups coming up in the BKFC world, and like Dave said, if and when he does beat Mr. Richmond, he wants Platinum Mike Perry. He wants to prove that he does not belong here in the combat sports world in BKFC, that he's not as good as everyone thinks. We'll see if he's able to be victorious, and if he's able to get that matchup. That should be another fun one. Mila Hill, really looking forward to seeing what her career holds for her. Obviously, she intends to build a legacy, to move forward with any notoriety her name bring with her, and blaze her own path, set her own trail. Looking forward to seeing her do some great things. Looking forward to hopefully in a year or so we could be talking about her making her combat sports or MMA debut, and should be fun. Other than that, guys, this should be a wrap for this week's show. I will catch you guys next week. Another fun one. Definitely got another bare knuckle fighter for you guys. So we'll see you guys. Make sure you're locked in and catching up the guys on some football, some more previews for the upcoming season.